Thank you. First of all, thanks to the guys at Adventure Uncovered, because superb event and very well organised for the first event. Very well done. What I'd like to talk to you about is a little bit about sort of a context of why I'm up here talking to you, and then to go into more sort of practical ways of how you can use adventure to channel funds into developing countries around the world. The first thing I'll do is bring up the presentation. First of all, I've had 4 years. I did a master's degree in geology back in 2001. Came out of that, and I was sitting there under a SEM, scanning electron microscope, and I thought, there's about 3 people in the world that care about what I'm looking at right now, and one of them's my mum, and one of them's definitely not me. So I finished the degree a few months later and headed out to live in South America. And I lived out there, and I was there for quite a specific reason. I'd learnt Spanish previously, and I wanted to go and meet as many people as possible. It wasn't about seeing Machu Picchu or going to the Galapagos, or it was about putting yourself in awkward positions and picking a most random named town on a map, and then going and seeing who's there and what's there. And I think it's an interesting way of travel. Not necessarily recommended. Hitchhiking and that sort of thing. South America is not the best idea, as you have a few stories about. But I think the main thing is meeting a lot of people. You see that, and you ask them questions, and you talk to them about their lifestyle. And invariably, you ask them, what would you do if you had a load of money? And invariably, almost 100% of the time, I would look after my family and the wider community. And so that stuck with me. And I came back and I worked, saw a job in the local paper, and it was to basically run Latin American operations for a travel company, of which a few people are here from the original contingent, Fraser. Over 6 years, we sent 80,000 people away to various projects overseas to work with about 500 different NGOs and organisations. And I think then that company got bought by an unnamed FTSE 100 company, and the whole thing became very commercial, and sort of jarred quite a few people, I think. So I came out of that and wanted to change that slightly. I think what I wanted to do is channel some funds. So we'd sent a lot of people, and they'd spent a lot of time, invested a lot of time in the organisations and NGOs that we were working with. One thing that was missing was money going with them. And that's where I think there is an opportunity to combine adventure travel with channeling funds into some of the projects. When you're out there, it gives you a much, spending time with communities gives you a much sort of deeper appreciation for what the problems are, and seeing some of those, what you've done prior to going there and fundraising and taking that money, you can, it completely changes the way that you look at that country. And also it solves some serious problems for those communities. The way that we looked at doing that, we debated, do we set up a charity or do we set up a business? And I think given the tools that are available to businesses, i.e. investments and loans and that side of things, that aren't necessarily available in the charity world, we went for a social business, and we are proud members of the B Corp community, and we recently got nominated, I guess, for as the top 10% social businesses in the world, which was something to be proud of. What we do is lower the bar so that anyone can run a travel company without having the time, effort, resource, skill set to run a travel company. So our skill set is running a travel company. Our partners' skill set is focusing on what they want to do, whether that's running, whether that's cycling, whether that's mountain climbing, whether that's surfing, whatever it is, that's their passion. Similarly, we lower the bar so that anyone can run their charity through our charitable organisation, through our foundation. Again, so that anyone can get involved in and raise funds for whatever they're passionate about. And you combine the two and you've got something that's actually quite powerful. I've worked with two of the best guys I've ever worked with, I think, apart from Fraser. Sorry, of course. And Annie, where are you? Who else is here? Two guys. So their passion was running, and they came to we had quite a few beers one night, and we said, okay, we're going to run we're going to run a marathon. We're going to organise it in Uganda. I've got all the tools as a travel company, and we set up a charitable foundation through our foundation. And to date, we've raised just under £600,000 for communities in all over. Uganda, we've got a race that's just happened in Kenya during election time, which is interesting. One going out next week in Nepal. On average, each event raises £100,000 to £120,000. And if you think about that money in the context of developing countries, that money can achieve an awful lot and has achieved an awful lot. And I think that wouldn't have happened if that bar had been that those guys had to start their own travel company. And certainly, I think a lot of people all credit to people who start their own charities, because it's not easy, and it does take a lot of time, effort, resource, and all the rest of it. And by lowering that bar, people can run with their passions. They can combine it with a day job, and so you don't have to work to, or you don't have to. You can transition into it. I mean, both these guys are now running full time on the marathons. But it was a transition, and coming out of a corporate job, they could balance the corporate and work on it in the evening because they're passionate about it. What we do is, in terms of the actual sort of logistics, if you like, to take anyone overseas, you need a whole set of licenses, bonds, insurances, and that sort of thing. You need to tick off health and safety and all the sort of boring stuff that I've done for years and years and years, it was really not fun. But for anyone sort of engaging in going to wherever it is, to combine their skill sets, interests, and philanthropic or charitable goals, that threw me completely. Thank you. 2 minutes left. So a few entities that we work with. So what we look at is layering or combining your passions or people's passions with what charities are operating in that space, what companies are interested in sponsoring some of those events and getting their brand or their employees engaged around that project or charity that you're looking at executing. Sports clubs, societies. So with one of the races, we literally filled it up in 2 weeks because a guy called Martin Yelling runs a podcast and is big on running. And thank you, Martin, because he literally put it out on a podcast, and all of a sudden we had 65 people signed up for a race in Kenya. That's probably 2 minutes up, I would imagine, is it? If anyone is interested in that sort of side of things and sort of really running at a project or a way of travelling, then come and see me afterwards, and we're